Hey gardeners, Amy here with Garden Up. Today I want to talk about how to hire a good contractor. So, most of us will have some kind of story about a bad contractor. It happens. I've hired bad contractors. Most of us have. I've even been the bad contractor a couple of times. It happens. None of us are perfect. So, my advice for contractors right now is know what you're good at and don't do what you're not good at. That's where I went wrong. I tried to do something that I wasn't trained in doing and I screwed it up. I did my best to make it right, but I will take responsibility that I screwed it up. I've also seen so many bad planting jobs and bad landscaping jobs and just things done wrong that just drive me up the wall because every single time they are done by professionals who are charging for their work and they're charging for their knowledge. That's actually what you're charging for when you're a professional is your knowledge and your labor. You should know what you're doing. And when they charge for their work, and they charge for their knowledge and then they do it wrong, it drives me insane.
So I don't like the way I said that. It's not about making me angry, me personally, whatever. It's that when somebody says they know how to do something and they do it wrong, it incurs extra costs and extra frustration because now you have to pay somebody else to come and fix it. And that's where the problem is. Continuing the video.
So first I want to show you a few examples of things that have gone wrong. So this client here hired an arborist purely to take down this privet hedge just a little bit. It was getting a little bit too tall. Literally all you need to do is take electric hedgers and go buzz across the top. That's all it is. He took it upon himself to also shape it incorrectly. Hedges are supposed to be shaped outward at the bottom like a gumdrop, not inward at the bottom like a vase or a V. He did a V here. And now it's all thin and sparse on the bottom where it wasn't before. It was full all the way up, which is why you flare it out at the bottom so the sun can get to those bottom leaves and it continues to stay full. If you remove the bottom growth, the sun has a hard time getting down there. And so those leaves just don't live. They don't become as full. So now I'm going to have to come in here and do a whole bunch of rejuvenation pruning to get this shrub back to what it's supposed to look like. I've gotten about this far. So far today, this is my work. That's what his looked like. So this is a brand new client. We were just hired to come in and clean up all the weeds and everything, but she showed me this hedge behind me. She said it used to be full and gorgeous, but an arborist came in and as a favor, he limbed it up. Why would you limb up a yew hedge? She was devastated when she saw the work that he had done. She didn't ask him to do it. He didn't ask her if she wanted it done. He just did it. And everything I see that he did here, he did wrong. So not only was he not asked to do it in the first place, but he took it upon himself to do something that wasn't wanted and wasn't needed, and then he did it wrong. So I don't know why you would ever limb up a hedge. That seems really dumb to me. Maybe he had a reason in his mind, I don't know. But the only way we're going to be able to fix this is to weed out everything below, and then I'm just going to plant a bunch of rhododendrons and hydrangeas and other shade-loving things to fill in and try to cover up the ugly that is now back there. So that's the plan. Once we get this weeded, I'll be filling it in with some other things. This hack job was done by an arborist who wasn't even hired to do this. He did it without being asked, and as a favor to the homeowner, he topped the top of this formerly beautiful yew hedge, just topped all the branches, and then I thinned the sides. I don't even know how he got it to look like this. It's absolutely atrocious. No true arborist would make cuts like that, ever. The only thing that I can even think that he might have been doing was to try to keep the top of the hedge out of those power lines up there, but the actual power lines are way over there, and the ones above the hedge have another 10 to 15 feet before you get to a power line. So why would he top them there? I don't know. So in the contractor's defense on this one, this is an unusual request. But again, he did something without talking to the homeowner and without it being requested. This client has this choke cherry right here, and it's suckering. They're suckers. Normally we would remove them. She wanted the suckers to grow as a visual block, a screen, so she had some privacy from the road that's back there. Unusual request. right? But normally, if it were me and I was removing suckers, I would remove them at the ground. She still would have been mad at me, right? In that case, if I had done that without talking to her first. But she wanted these. Her arborist came through and topped them. Why? I had no idea. But this is why we need to check with our contractors and make sure that we are very clear with what we want before you hire them. She's actually marked them with flags. These are the ones she wants to keep specifically, so we will not be touching anything with a flag on it. That's just what's at this client's house. Here's a picture of a tree that was planted so close to the foundation of the house that it grew up into the eaves. This is ridiculous. This should not happen. I've pulled up so many trees that died for some reason. The client had no idea why they were dead. It's because they were puffed out of the pot and put in the ground. Nobody bothered to even scuff the roots, much less wash them or correct them. Also, they were planted too deep on numerous occasions. It drives me nuts when this kind of stuff is done. So my point is, bad contractors are all over the place. They might be good contractors with some things and not good contractors with other things. But how do you know? How do you know if you're hiring a good contractor? So I want to talk about a few things you can do to hopefully avoid hiring bad contractors and help you screen them and hire good ones for the job you have. Most of these tips are going to be good for any professional, by the way, not just landscapers or like carpenters and stuff like that, but even CPAs and lawyers. You can screen them in the same way, any professional. So here's a few tips for hiring good contractors. So first, check references and past work. You can request references, you can contact previous clients, and you can review their past projects in their portfolios. Hopefully their portfolio has pictures of their best work, obviously. But really what you want to find is if there's any bad work in their past. So that's where you want to check references and contact their previous clients. If this contractor was referred to you by a friend, you can talk to your friend. Did they do a good job? Hopefully, or they wouldn't have referred you, right? But see if you can get in touch with a few other clients, or maybe if it's a landscape job, drive past some of their other clients' houses. Another way to check references and past work is to check online reviews. So obviously you want to look at the 5-star reviews and see how happy people were, but also look at the negative reviews. Sometimes negative reviews are just people talking and it gets kind of ridiculous. You can tell when somebody's just complaining for the sake of complaining, but a lot of times those negative reviews are really telling and you'll be able to see what's really going on behind the scenes and undercover and behind closed doors with this contractor and how they treat their clients when the client is unhappy. You just do have to be careful that unhappy client isn't a person that's really hard to please because that does tend to skew opinions on contractors. Look for recurring themes in their reviews. So if most everybody is really happy about this specific thing, then you know that specific thing is a thing that you're probably going to be happy with. If a bunch of people are really unhappy about this specific thing, that's probably a thing that's going to happen to you as well with this contractor. Second, verify licensing and insurance. So this is a little bit trickier because sometimes anybody can say they have all the right licenses and the insurance, but you can verify this. You can either ask to see evidence of their licenses and their insurance, or you can look up a lot of it online. But things like state and city licenses for operating their business license, insurance, meaning business insurance, vehicle insurance, and then workers' comp insurance, L&I, all of which are very important. And they all show that this business is legit and that they should know what they're doing, they take care of their employees, and they should be taking care of their clients. All of this demonstrates that this contractor did the steps to do things right, to set up their business right, and to take care of their employees. Next is check credentials and affiliations. So a lot of companies or people may have affiliations with certain groups or professional associations, all kinds of things like that. Those associations and groups often come with certifications and training. That's a good thing if they're certified or affiliated or accredited by a certain group that's well known. So memberships and trade associations can indicate a commitment to their professionalism. Certifications, you want to verify any certifications that demonstrate their expertise in their field. Next is conduct an interview. So call them for a consultation, interview them over the phone, something like that. I start with a phone call and then an in-person consultation. When somebody calls me, I actually vet the client very carefully before I ever come out to their house because I want to make sure that what they need is actually something I do. So, as a professional, I'm doing this to clients, by the way. It goes both ways. If you're calling me to ask me to mow your lawn, I'm sorry, I don't mow lawns. I also don't clean pools. I don't build hardscape. I don't prune tall trees. I don't do a whole lot of things that I get phone calls asking if we do. So, no, we don't do that. We find out exactly what you need. And if what you need is something we can do, well, then we schedule a consultation. You should do the same as a client. You should call a company, tell them what you need, and find out if what you need is something they can actually do. Evaluate how well they communicate, their responsiveness, and whether or not they ask insightful questions about your project. Make sure that they're understanding what you're really wanting. Like that's what went wrong, I think, with a lot of the things at in this client's yard, but the professional didn't understand what she wanted. Discuss the process, understand their approach to the project, the timeline, how they'll handle unexpected issues. Ask questions that start that kind of a conversation. Get a detailed estimate. A good contractor should be able to provide something of an estimate. If you want a more detailed estimate, maybe they have to go back to their office to do it, but it should be written and with a breakdown of costs. Now, what I do is I give only estimates. I do not do bids and I do not do quotes. But I will stand in your yard and I'll say, I think it'll cost about this much. If you want more detailed of an estimate, I can do that for you. But it's going to take me a few days because I have to go home and do it at my office. But I can do it. Next is test their knowledge. And this is honestly my favorite part. So I have a few tricks here. Ask technical questions. Gauge their expertise by asking detailed questions about the materials, the methods, or potential challenges. What you should do, really, is you should understand everything there is to know about some particular aspect of your project, and then you should ask them about that thing. And then you'll know if their answer is right or not. So, one of my favorite things, this is for interviewing CPAs and financial professionals, is learn an obscure law like paying your kids, or writing off your home office, or writing off your cell phone, something like that. And you should know it top to bottom, inside and out. And then you're going to ask, can I pay my kids? And if they say no, you'll get audited. That's a link. You'll know you don't have a good CPA because they don't know what they're talking about. You can't absolutely pay your kids if you own a business. It's the same with contractors. Know everything about a specific thing, ask them about that thing, and see what they answer, see what they say. If it fits and you know it's correct, you might have a good contractor. If it doesn't, you might want to keep looking. Try some scenario planning. Discuss different ways that you might approach the project and issues that they might run into and how they can handle them. Evaluate the professionalism. Were they punctual and prepared for the consultation? Did they show up when they said they would be on time? Did they knock on the door, step back, hand you a business card? Like, were they professional? Or did they show up late and unprepared? Maybe they forgot their paperwork or their contract, or they didn't have tools to test something. I mean, there's a million things that could go wrong in a consultation. Sometimes people just have a bad day, but other times that's just kind of how they are. And you can kind of gauge that in the consultation. Then there's contracts and documentation. A good contractor should have a good contract. Ensure that they provide clear, detailed contracts that outline the scope, the costs, the timelines, and the terms of this arrangement. Verify financial stability. You want to check their financial history. Ask for references from suppliers or subcontractors to ensure that they pay their bills on time. And then make sure you understand their payment schedule. Be cautious of contractors who require large upfront payments. This can be a red flag. A partial upfront payment is absolutely expected because as a contractor, we want to make sure you're not going to stiff us, right? But if they want the whole thing up front, you want to make sure they're not going to take your money and run. Much more typical is an upfront deposit and then payments along the way as they provide work. How I do things with my business is I take about a third of the estimate as a deposit, and then we bill for your first visit as soon as the first visit is complete. It should have used the deposit and maybe have a little bit more, and then we bill monthly after that. It's very simple, straightforward, and I make sure to explain that in the consultation. Next is get multiple bids. You don't have to stick to just one contractor. And as much as I hate being bidded out by somebody else, if somebody else is the better fit for you, then that's how it should be. That's fine. I don't take that personally or anything. Compare your estimates. Don't go with the lowest bidder by default. Compare the scope of the work, the materials, the timeline, the professionalism, all the things that we already talked about. And make sure to clarify the differences. If one bid is significantly lower or higher, ask why to ensure it's not due to something being missed or some corners being cut or using expensive materials that aren't necessarily needed. Last, one way to try a contractor without really committing to a big thing is start with a small project. Do a trial run. If it's possible, start with a smaller, less critical project to assess their work before committing to a larger job. This will allow you to experience their work, and see what it's like to work with them. These steps should help you to hire a contractor or a professional who is qualified, trustworthy, competent, and a good fit for your needs. So thanks for watching this video, everybody. If it was valuable to you and you learned something, make sure to tell me by hitting the like button down below. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe so you get more gardening content in your feed every week. And if you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments down below. Thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you in the garden.